This is Rob Tebbutt for Boxing News, joined by Eddie Hearn. We are here in the lovely, sunny, very, very sunny state of Arizona ahead of Juan Francisco Estrada versus Bam Rodriguez. How you doing, Ed?
I'm doing good, and I don't think the American fight fans got the banter about the free air conditioning. You know, when I started the press, I was like, it's very hot outside. We've decided as a team to offer free air conditioning for all ticket holders on Saturday. And looked around, everyone was like, there's already air conditioning. I know, it's like British banter.
After all this time, they still don't get the shtick, Eddie.
Yeah, no, I'm trying. But it is warm, 44 degrees. And excited, a bit tired. Come straight from the presser yesterday in London. But this is a great fight. Buzzing for it. Big crowd on Saturday. Great undercard. Looking forward to it.
Great fight indeed. I was having a little think while the press conference was going on. You've been involved in some great fights. Do you think this, skill for skill, talent for talent, is the highest level fight that you've ever been involved with?
Well, good question. I mean, I think they're 2 pound for pound guys now. I mean, they're both 2 division world champions, both unified world champions. I think Jesse's really special. Like, he's 24 years old. I think if he wins this fight, you have to start mentioning him in that top 5, top 6 pound for pound. Inoue, Crawford, Usyk. Because he's a lower weight class, like, doesn't mean that you just have to ignore the fact that he's beating everybody. He's moving up and down the divisions. And this will be Quadras, Rungvisai, Edwards, Estrada. Like, it's a hell of a run. And when I look at him at 24 and think, you know, he was a light flyweight. He wanted to win a world championship at light fly. He had an opportunity on a week's notice to fight for a super flyweight world championship. And then he said, I'm not big enough for super fly. I need to move back to flyweight. Unified down there. And then in the last fight, actually struggled at weight against Sonny. He said, I can't make the weight anymore. Now he's at super fly. He'll definitely go to bantam. He'll probably go to super bantam. And who knows when he's 27, 28. But I think you're looking at a 4-5 division world champion. And if he beats El Gallo, you know, he's a top talent. And every fight with him is entertaining. Last time out was Sonny. And now this will be no different.
Gallo, I spent some time with him yesterday, spoke to him today. Seems like he's got, I mean, all very respectful, but a bit of a chip on his shoulder. He's an all-time great, and people are seemingly writing him off a little bit here.
I think he spoke really well, and I thought the trainer spoke well as well. I mean, the trainer was respectful, but kind of dismissed the CV of Jesse Rodriguez. Look, there is an argument that Quadras and Rungvisai were over the hill, right? I think they definitely were at the back ends of their career, but still great victories. But I think a little part of El Gallo is thinking, fuck me, like, everything I've done, and you guys just think this is an easy win for Jesse Rodriguez. It won't be that way. And, you know, with Mexico playing football on Sunday here in Phoenix, it's going to be a very, very heavy Mexico crowd, and El Gallo is like a god over there. So he won't give up without a fight. I think it's a very evenly matched contest. As Ron McIntosh would say.
Very evenly matched contest. A bunch of other words. I'm not going to try and impersonate the big man. There's only one. Yeah, there's only one Ron McIntosh. Should be here all day. Juan Francisco Estrada hasn't boxed in 18 months. He's 34. I accidentally said he was 35. He's quick to remind me he's 34. Do you think that could be a factor coming into this?
I mean, you always want to be sharp, but honestly, like, I think as a fighter gets older, ironically, when he had a fight previously with us, he wanted like an interim fight because he was inactive, and he fought and he damaged his hand, and it really set him back. So I just don't think you need camps for fights that don't interest you. And that's the amazing thing about Jesse. He's actually not interested in fighting anyone that isn't really good or a really big fight. Like, this fight took a long time to make, and he said, I'll just sit out if you can't make it, and I'll just wait till you find me a big fight. I said, well, you can defend your unified championship. No, I'd rather just wait. So, I don't know. I don't think that's going to play a part. I think it's just going to come down to who's better, and that's a tough one to call because they're 2 great fighters.
Just on Bam, I feel like I spoke to him a couple of weeks ago for the magazine and spoke to him again today, and he feels like he's just starting to come out of his shell a little bit more. Obviously, by his own admission, he's somewhat of an introvert, by his own admission, I certainly don't want him to lamp me, a bit of a nerdy guy, a bit of a gamer guy, but he seems like to be finding himself a little bit.
I think he's a fascinating character. I mean, when you're promoting a fighter, you have to promote them and their personalities. So with Bam, there's no point trying to make Bam like this flash guy that goes out in, like, you know, the sports cars and the bling, because that's not him. like you say, by his own admission, he's like a nerdy gamer guy. It's quite weird, really, when you look at it. But I'm seeing that he likes the crowds, he likes the big occasions, and he's going to love it in there on Saturday, because last time against Sonny Edwards we had a good crowd, but you've probably got twice the crowd in there on Saturday, and everyone that went last time will be coming again Saturday, so that fan base is growing. Now you have the Mexican contingent as well, and Sonny will feel that as well in his fight, which is a tough ask.
It certainly is. Final one on Bam. Obviously, he started off at light fly, super fly, down to fly, now up at super fly. Conventionally, historically, they're not the easiest weights to build these big superstars, despite how talented the likes of him, Estrada, Chocolatito, etc. are. How is he on the ascent? Where is he on the ascent? Where do you think he can go, kind of relative to his size?
I think when you talk about the lower weights, you are right. But then you look at Inoue, who's become one of the biggest stars in the sport. I mean, he started his career at Superfly, now up at Super Light Fly, now up at Super Bantam. So really, there's no reason why Bam can't do it either. I think he's got the same kind of ability as Inoue. And as he grows, he's 24, like I said. So once he gets 25, 26, he won't be able to make Superfly anymore. And he'll be, he'll be fighting at Bantam. Then he's Super Bantam. But you just got to be careful, because that's how you get beat. A lot of people started talking about Bam against Inoue, and it's like, I think it's an amazing matchup, but you're at a massive disadvantage. Same as Inoue would be against Tank. Same as Crawford would be against Canelo. Now, you can still win those fights, but do you want to put yourself at a massive disadvantage against such a good fighter? Because maybe the only way Bam can get beat is to move too far up the weight classes.
You mentioned there Sonny Edwards comes back this weekend in a real fight against Adrian Curiel, of course, light flyweight champion up until his last fight, was winning that fight until he wasn't, against Sivanati Nonshinga. A real test for Sonny Edwards, and one where he can't afford to take his eye off the ball.
I actually think it's a really tough fight. I think the style will suit Sonny, but he's got to be 100%, and he's got to, that last fight against Bam mustn't have taken anything out of him, because Curiel will find you out, and he will fight at a frantic pace. Again, be full of Mexicans in there. And, Sonny got booed out into the ring and cheered out the ring last time. He will have some support in there, but it's going to be fought at a frantic pace, and Sonny needs to be ready for this fight, because, I believe victory will see us make the Yafai fight, I think maybe even for a world championship, and that's a big fight for both men, so can't afford any hiccups, and he will be in deep on Saturday night. Fair play to him for taking it back out here, but that's what he's all about.
You mentioned the Yafai fight. Spoke to Sonny yesterday, said his side of that fight is already done, signed, sealed and delivered. Does all he have to do is come through this weekend? Is there a hold up on the Galao side? What's the potential timescale for that?
Fight is happening. It's just a case of when. If Sonny comes through well, maybe we can do it sooner rather than later. Galao will want to fight quite soon. He's told me, Rob McCracken's told me, he has no problem fighting Sonny Edwards. They're both highly ranked with the WBC title that's vacant at the moment. If Sonny performs well, could even be for the championship. So I would love that to be for the World Championship. There'll be plenty of needle in that build-up. It's a brilliant fight, and we'll definitely look to make it if Sonny comes through.
You mentioned that WBC flyweight title being vacant. Certain Julio Cesar Martinez falling foul of yet another failed drugs test. 9 months left of what I assume was a 12-month ban for the Angelino Cordova fight. Obviously, you've promoted, you've been around Julio Cesar Martinez for long periods of his career. Disappointing news, as it is always when a fighter fails for performance-enhancing drugs.
Yeah, and, just a nice change that someone failed one not on our show, I don't know what the PBC policy is in terms of VADA testing for the undercard. I think that was a commission test on the night. There's obviously a language barrier between me and Julio Cesar Martinez, but I've always found him crazy, but good fun. I feel that for a fighter to take a substance, they've nearly always been advised to take one. Do you know what I mean? Or someone said, take this will help you out, or what, rather than someone just like a fighter going on Google and placing an order. Do you know what I mean? I can't see that happening. So, yeah, don't know anything about it, but disappointing. And, I think the thing is with these bans, I had a lot of questions today from the media saying, do you think Ryan's ban's long enough and stuff like that? And it really comes down to if you've cheated or not. I feel like if you've deliberately taken performance-enhancing drugs to improve your ability to physically damage someone in a ring, you should be banned for life. But I do believe a lot of fighters are unlucky, and I do believe in contamination. It is a thing. It's just separating the two. So like in Ryan's case, if he was unlucky, he is quite a good result. If he cheated, he's had the result of all times, getting a year. And that's the thing with UKAD, as we know, with a strict liability, is it's kind of like a 2-year minimum ban. And if you were unlucky, tough shit, you still get 2 years. But if you cheated, you get 4. But I just feel like if you've cheated, you should be slung out of the sport. But sometimes you can go and kind of plead guilty and get a better deal if you do it early. And that's when I look back at the Conor stuff, he was never prepared to do that because he just protested his innocence so hard. And it was almost like got to a stage where it was like, mate, you could probably do a deal now and plead guilty. It's like, no thanks. It's like, I know, but like now it's been 2 years and we're still going. So yeah, sometimes doing a deal on the outset, as Ryan has done, can actually be more beneficial than going through a full hearing and finding out somehow that you did actually deliberately take it, and then you get longer.
You mentioned Conor Benn there. We haven't really heard anything in recent months about Conor Benn or his situation. What can you tell us? What do you know?
Just that, obviously the board won the appeal, and now the conversations begin with UKAD because he has to go through effectively a new starting system for that hearing, which he wants to do. And now it's just about trying to have a sensible conversation with UKAD to say, okay, can we do that? Can we do it quickly? I think that reading between the lines with all the evidence that's been presented so far, a 2-year ban is probably the likely scenario. Well, the test was 2 years ago. Do you know what I mean? So when does it start? When does it finish? Kind of thing. And I think that's probably a lot of the conversation. I don't know the substance of those conversations. I just know that the lawyers are speaking to the lawyers at UKAD to clean up the process and get it resolved. Like, it's been a pretty treacherous couple of years for him, but it is what it is. I believe he's been unlucky, but either way, he's paid the price. And a year's ban, it's really not that long. You'd have to think that Ryan Garcia would be out the ring for at least 9 months after the Haney fight. So it's not really that long to wait, is it? But I think he's got bigger problems.
Just on Conor Benn, he boxed obviously twice in the States while this process, as it were, was kind of being undertaken. But at the time, he was free to box due to the ban being lifted. Now that ban's being enforced. Is there any conversations about him boxing in the States, or does that have to be resolved before he can box anywhere?
I said, and it was like the argument before, wasn't it? He's been cleared. He hasn't been cleared. Well, he's been cleared to fight. Yeah, because once that ban gets lifted and the suspension gets lifted, you're cleared to fight anywhere in the world, apart from the British Boxing Board of Control. But now that suspension's been put on again, pending the hearing. I'm not going to try, because I don't think you should fight if you're suspended in a jurisdiction, in all honesty. So the reason that he's had those 2 fights is because that suspension got lifted. Now it's back in place. We're not looking to find a commit, because to be honest, most commissions would respect the suspension of the British Boxing Board of Control. We could definitely find commissions that would allow him to box, but that's not the plan. The plan is get this cleared now. We just want a date. I don't care if he turned around to me and said, well, I've spoke to UKAD and the date I can fight is X. At least we know the date. Do you know what I mean? I'd rather do that, and then he can plan his life, plan his camp, and get back to it. It's only a matter of time.
Final one on that. You mentioned it being kind of a treacherous couple of years, and it was a very volatile situation with a lot of kind of bad feeling on both sides, seemingly. Do you think that could potentially go against him? The fact that he boxed during that period of time, whether he was kind of cleared to box or not, do you think that could potentially go against him?
In what respect?
In respect of this new process that's currently open or underway.
No, I think I guess the backdating of a ban is UKAD's, but I don't know how that'll be done. I mean, you're probably talking about an argument over a 6 to 12 month period where there might be an overlap or something. I don't know enough about it, but I don't think the reality is when he won his case and he was no longer suspended, I don't think anyone really felt that he shouldn't box. I'm sure they were disappointed they lost the case, but they all knew he was cleared to box because the commission got in touch with the board and said, is he cleared to box? Is he suspended? And they said, fortunately, no, he's not. He's not suspended with us, and that's why he was allowed to box.
Moving away, I didn't expect things to kind of deviate into drug talk so quick into the interview. You did that, yeah. It's usually me, not you. Yeah, exactly. Just want to talk about Anto Cacace, his bout with Josh Warrington. Where does Sugar Nunez stand in all of that?
So Sugar Nunez is a matchroom fighter, and we agreed a step-aside deal for him to wait until December to fight. He will fight in September on our LA show. And, you know, His Excellency, I mean, you know, myself, George and Spencer Brown, we build these cards. We put forward options for the creator and director, His Excellency, to choose which ones he likes. And Josh Warrington was the guy they liked for Cacace. Obviously, he's a very big name in the UK. Zelfa Barrett was in the mix. There were some discussions about Leigh Wood, but obviously Ben trains him. And so Josh got the fight, and the winner has to fight Sugar Nunez.
With Josh getting the fight, obviously he's been somebody who's had a tremendous amount of success in his career, all at featherweight, not boxed at super featherweight. He's only got one win in his last 5 bouts. Are you surprised that the IBF, have the IBF sanctioned that, first of all?
I mean, he's subject to sanction, but he will need, it's very likely that you'll see him run out in the next couple of weeks to get that win, because I think they'd be a lot more comfortable him coming off a victory. To be honest, Rob, when you look at the rankings, like, he deserves to be in those rankings, but I think it's very likely that for IBF sanction, they will see him have that victory first, which will come over the next couple of weeks.
As it stands at the minute, that still needs to happen, so that needs to take place.
We are not. They have to go through the process with the rankings committee, so we're not. You know, we're happy to say that it's subject to the approval, but also have been indicated that if he was to get that victory and coming off a win, they would sanction the fight.
Where does that leave Leigh Wood?
You know, I've tried for 4 months to make Wood Warrington too, and you know, I said earlier, someone said, "Do you think he should have taken the fight?" And he has to be comfortable with the offer. I say overpaid. I don't like saying that because I think it's a tough sport, but I've paid Leigh Wood handsomely, and it hasn't always worked out for us financially. And the offer that we gave him was still a massive offer, but he didn't feel like it was enough. So he's well within his rights to not take that fight. Obviously, doesn't look like the best decision now, but he got unlucky as well because in the last 48 hours we did that Warrington deal. So he's not really ready to fight till September, October anyway. So he could wait, you know, see what happens with the winner or loser of that fight, or look at another fight at super featherweight. You know, whether that's, I don't know.
Sugar Nunez?
Yeah, I don't think. I mean, they're not going to be queuing up to fight Sugar Nunez, to be honest with you. No, but you know, Leigh's still a big name.
What are the potential options for him at £130? I mean, at the minute, is he currently a matchroom fighter as it stands?
He's not. Yeah, I'm sure he spoke to other people as well. The problem is, for the money that Leigh Wood wants, there's very limited fights available, and he's not a champion anymore. You know, he had to move up from feather because he just couldn't make it anymore. Now you're not fighting in championship fights. The Warrington fight was the biggest fight for him. Still may re-emerge. But, you know, you've got Ray Ford. You know, you've got other world champions. Excuse me. You know, other champions at super feather as well. But Leigh's made a lot of money. And he wants a lot of money. And it's not hard. It's not easy to deliver that kind of money unless the fight generates it.
Does it still, and I've spoken to Leigh and he's been very public about his kind of wants, which is city ground. Does it have to be, I don't want to kind of oversimplify things, but does it have to be one or the other? Can you only get the city ground fight, or can you get the city ground fight and a load of money, or is it a load of money somewhere? Where does that fit?
You know, Nottingham Forest didn't want to do it, so it kind of was out of our hands. But it started off after he beat Josh Warrington that I'll only fight again if I fight at the city ground. They said no, and then he wanted to fight again anyway. And now, obviously, summer's approaching, and you know, look, I think he's had a great run, and I think he's only going to fight if he likes the deal. But it's difficult to get to those levels without generating the money that requires that you know warrants that payday. And there's only a handful of fighters that can do that.
Last quick couple from me. Appreciate we're almost the last people in here. I always wait till last to get you. Anthony Joshua and Daniel Dubois. I really, really enjoyed watching them threaten to beat each other up yesterday.
Yeah, it was great. And I've seen it a few times in AJ's career. When someone says, we can go now if you want, I don't know, it's just a switch gets flicked by AJ. And I don't know. It happened against Otto Warling even in the head-to-head. He said something like, yeah, well, man, do you want to go? And it's like, fuck, man. And he's scary. I mean, AJ's the nicest bloke you can meet. But when he's fucking ready to go, he's a bad motherfucker. Really bad. Like, he will take your head off your shoulders. And he was ready to do that yesterday. And I like it. I love it. You know, I want him to have that kind of mentality. Different person, different fighter to 18 months ago, 12 months ago, to be honest with you. Brilliant to see. Full of confidence. It's going to be a great fight. Dangerous fight. Really good. But probably the worst time to fight both guys, both in the form of their careers. And two Brits going for the world heavyweight title.
Thankfully, you and Frank were there just in case anything did kick off, weren't you?
Jumped in. But Frank, like, not being disrespectful, Frank's old enough where when he gets in the middle, if I would have got in the middle, someone would just gone, fucking get out of the way, you tosser. You know what I mean? So Frank was there and I was obviously ready to jump in, you know.
You mentioned there of Daniel Dubois, a very dangerous time to be fighting him. Obviously walked through the fire in the early rounds against Filip Hrgović before, really sticking it on him and getting him out of there. Do you think this is the most dangerous fight of Anthony Joshua's career from a perspective? Because I'm trying to think, I had this conversation with a few people, I'm trying to think of bigger punches that Joshua's faced in his professional career. I know that's not everything, but still.
It was a very dangerous fight. I mean, Klitschko was a huge puncher. Ruiz too was really dangerous because of what happened in Ruiz 1. Povetkin was very dangerous fight at the time. You know, he was still quite inexperienced. But yeah, Dubois was a good puncher. A lot of people felt that the Ngannou fight was going to be dangerous for Joshua after how hard he hit. But Dubois, it'd be interesting to see how Dubois approaches the fight. He was very active in the Hrgović fight, as in output. Fucking just came out like a train and just stuck it on him. Like, he took 30 straight right hands off Hrgović. If he gets hit with one of those from Joshua, he's going to sleep. And it'll be interesting. Like Ben said yesterday, to the media, I feel like it's a bad style matchup for Dubois because AJ's very accurate. He's like a sniper. And if you make a mistake and he counters you with a right hand, it's over. And he will hit Dubois. But Dubois can punch. And if he chooses to roll the dice early, because people question Dubois' heart, right? But Dubois' heart only gets questioned as the fight goes on. So those first 3 or 4 rounds, he's actually really dangerous because that don't come into it. It's only when he starts getting hit and he starts getting tired, he goes back to the corner and he needs his dad and he needs a training team to say, come on, keep going, keep going. You ain't got to tell AJ to keep going. It's in him. But Dubois on a high at the moment, and that was a good win against Hrgović. Hrgović, people are always quick to say Hrgović weren't in shape. Hrgović was overrated. It's still a great win. You can't take the credit away from Dubois. But he don't punch like Anthony punches, and if he gets hit clean like he did against Hrgović, the fight's over.
Saw the video of His Excellency with Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury on FaceTime there. Do you think that we potentially get that fight some point in the next 12 months? It seems to be the one that the Saudi kind of outfit, as it were, are very keen. They're very keen on Anthony Joshua versus Tyson Fury, it seems.
And they'd be even keener if that was for the Undisputed Championship. So hopefully Fury can do the biz in December. We've got to do the business at Wembley. I'm not a big manifester. But I've always believed he'd win a world heavyweight title again. I've always believed he'll be undisputed. And if he beats Dubois, he's going to fight for the Undisputed Championship. And as I said, if Fury can do the business, it sets up perfectly.
Right, last very few quick questions from me. I know you've been asked this by a lot of people, so I'm going to keep it fairly straight. Bam Rodriguez, Boots Ennis, Jalil Hackett, Shakur Stevenson.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's obviously a conversation we'll have. One of the problems is because of the way he's been promoted, he's on a lot of money in terms of the numbers that he's generating. And what Bob does is once Bob realises someone's going, like they're just off like the bottom of the pile in terms of promotional priorities. So it's like a double-edged sword where you're paying him a load of money, but you're not promoting him, and it just gets worse and worse. So the strategy's got to be right, and I've got to be able to provide the right fights for Shakur. I think the kid is a pound-for-pound star. I think he's brilliant. I'm not sure anyone can beat him. I think he beats Tank. But you've got to build his profile. But it's like with Jaron Ennis. You signed Jaron Ennis, and it's like, oh, yeah, well, he's not a very big star. He don't sell a ticket. And then we go to Wells Fargo. We've done 12 already, 12,000. Probably do 15,000 for him fighting Avanesian. It's not hard. It's my bread and butter. It's what I do. And I know how to sell and promote Shakur Stevenson. But they've got to buy into the deal. They've got to buy into the strategy. And if he's prepared to do that, I think would be a great home for him.
Okay, well, Eddie Hearn, there's plenty more to catch up on, but we've got a few days here in sunny Arizona, so I'll catch up with you tomorrow at the weigh-in.
Cheers, mate.